memory on elite receivers and disappearing acts like Amari Cooper. That was the kid that the Raiders had a few years ago. Oh, that's right. That was Amari Cooper. This is who he is. And Dan, he doesn't love football. Hell with it. He stops his routes. He does all this. I wouldn't have paid this turd. No way in hell.
All right.
No way.
Hey gang, Mark Holmes here, and as always, thank you guys for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, it does not work without you guys. Man, here yet again is another one of those times that you are completely disappointed. You know, when I grew up, it was hard to be a fan of a team that wasn't the home team. I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area, and my father was a Dallas Cowboy fan. And this is before you say he's a bandwagon. He was a fan when they first became the team. He was a fan with Bob Bullet Hayes. He was a fan before they ever played the Colts in the Super Bowl, before there was ever a bandwagon, when they were known as the team that couldn't win the big one, because they had lost to the Green Bay Packers in the Ice Bowl, because they had lost to the Colts. When I grew up, you had the newspaper and you had Sports Illustrated that came out on Friday. Other than that, it was George Michael's Sports Machine, which was between 11:30 after the regular news on NBC until 12 o'clock, and they had highlights. He was the precursor to what is now ESPN. No. He's a precursor to ESPN. It was the only place that you actually got sports news on Sunday night, where you saw highlights. And I remember when they first started talking about this cable sports network, it's going to be 24 hours a day. And you were like, there's not that kind of sports going on to have news on sports on 20. It's not possible. That's how limited we were. Who knew that they'd have 4 or 5 different channels and be on the internet and on the web and podcast and all this stuff? We didn't see that back then. But it was incredible because you could get what was going on in the sports. You got the real news and you could make a decision or a judgment of your own. But what they have digressed to now is just ridiculous. The people who actually knew sports and football, they got rid of them because they looked at them and said, oh man, they're the old talking heads and stuff. They get these young guys in the suits and things and all that are just loud mouths. And the whole thing is not about reporting the sports anymore. It's about being a reality show to see who can yell the loudest and say the most outrageous things. It used to be when you heard something on ESPN, you could believe it. It was the real deal. And they had integrity. How Rex Ryan is able to go on television, especially now when there is nothing going on in the world, and they have the complete platform, that all of us sports fans are out here looking for anything, that they actually go to the point of actually name calling and calling Amari Cooper a turd. See, this is what really bothers me about sports journalism, supposedly, if you want to call it journalism. It's more like TMZ. Des Bryant got trashed. Remember, they were talking about Des Bryant had police come to his house 6 times. There might be a tape out there that's 10 times worse than Ray Rice. They said all these things to sully the guy's name that ended up not being true or the way they portrayed it. Yet nobody ever got in trouble for it. And now we've gotten to the point where we're calling people turds. Now, I've never been a big fan of the Ryan family, of course, because of Buddy Ryan and being part of the Eagles. You know, he was a great coach, but he was an ass as a person and a human being. And apparently that has been passed on to his son. Now, I am glad to hear that he has issued an apology. I don't know if this is a heartfelt apology or if somebody realized how freaking stupid you look. You know, it's one thing to go ahead, and this is what I try to do on my channel. Listen. Personal attacks, I do not allow on my channel. They don't. What it's about is, we can have discussions about football. Maybe the guy's a good player, maybe he's not. But going through and having personal attacks and things like that, it's not tolerated. And that's why I don't let it, people going after each other in here. I really wish that sports reporting got back to actually sports reporting. Instead of this stuff of, we're just trying to make the biggest headline, where you've got guys who you look at, like Dan Orlovsky, how that guy became an expert. You know, to me, an expert is somebody who succeeded first and can tell you what they did to succeed. When you get somebody like Dan Orlovsky, who is brought onto ESPN like he is an expert that knows what he's doing, you kind of wonder that. When you get guys who were ex-rappers that weren't really good, who are deemed an expert in sports, you kind of wonder. When you have guys that were political pundits that are now sports reporters, you have to wonder, what is the real background for it? And is it just an agenda that we are just looking for clicks? Because it seems like on a weekly basis, it just gets worse and worse and worse, to the point of being unwatchable. Now, if it's about making money, well, I guess you're doing that because you're getting the clicks, you're getting people pissed off, and you get me talking about it. Otherwise, I wouldn't give a rat's ass about what Rex Ryan has to say. It's disgusting. But we'll talk about this tonight, of course, on my live stream. I'll see you at 9 o'clock.